June 2023, Dubai. The heat rising off the asphalt at Jebel Ali port is enough to distort the air, a shimmering haze of 40 degrees Celsius temperatures. Watch these two men standing amidst the shipping containers. They have just flown 4,000 miles from London, enduring 7 hours in economy class. Fueled by adrenaline and greed, they are standing here for exactly one reason. Inside the steel container in front of them sits 6 months of grueling work. Their entire criminal operation, everything they have risked their freedom for, and everything they have built. In about 30 seconds, they are going to break the seal and open those heavy metal doors. And when they do, their lives as they know them will be over. But they do not know that yet. They are smiling. Atalachla silikalabikoti, the salabula tachlolai trachlolai dergawe forosilikalolai, machlolai dergawe forolai dergawe for. But they do machlolai dergolai derg. But they'll understand why this specific moment destroys them. We need to rewind. We need to go back to where this all started, back to the rain-slick streets of East London, and a 29-year-old man who thought he had cracked the code for the perfect crime. His name was Wahed Ysef. Take a good look at his face. Ysef, 29 years old, living in Ilford, East London. For 6 months, stretching from December 2022 to May 2023, he orchestrated what he genuinely believed was a flawless criminal enterprise. And honestly, from a purely logistical standpoint, he was not wrong. At least, not at first. Here is the brilliance of what Wahed figured out, a realization that separates the petty thief from the organized criminal. He looked at the affluent neighborhoods of the UK and saw driveways filled with expensive machinery. Range Rovers, Land Rovers, BMWs vehicles that cost £60,000, £80,000, even £100,000. These cars are everywhere, sitting on driveways, parked at dealerships, just waiting. Now most people see a Range Rover Sport and think, that is a nice luxury car. Wahed saw something completely different. He did not see a car. He saw a catalogue of liquidation assets. He saw £50,000 in untraceable components. He saw a version 8 engine worth £8,000 on the black market. A transmission worth £5,000. LED headlight clusters, sophisticated electronics, leather interiors, alloy wheels, every single screw and bolt had a price tag. Wahed understood the sum of parts economic theory. A stolen car is a liability. It has a VIN number, a registration plate, and a GPS tracker. It is a hot potato that screams arrest me. But a car stripped down to its atomic elements, that is just inventory. If you know where to sell those parts, you can make a fortune because the global supply chain for car parts is tight. Legitimate repairs take months. Black market repairs take days. So Wahed built a system to exploit this gap. It was beautiful from a criminal standpoint, ruthless in its efficiency. He was not just stealing cars. He was harvesting raw materials. But to harvest, you first have to hunt. And Wahed knew exactly how to get these metal beasts off the driveways and into his possession without waking a single soul. The theft itself was performed with surgical precision. It happened at 3:00 a.m. on silent residential streets, executed by two-man teams, moving like ghosts in the dark. They would identify a target, let us say a pristine Range Rover Sport, sitting on a paved driveway in the suburbs. It has keyless entry, which is sold to consumers as a luxury feature, but, to a thief, is a critical vulnerability. See, your car key is constantly broadcasting a low-frequency radio signal, a digital heartbeat looking for its partner. When you walk up to the door, the car recognizes the unique code in that signal, unlocks the doors and primes the ignition. It is convenient for you, but fatal for the car's security. Here is the technical problem that Wahed exploited. Thieves can purchase a device online for as little as £100 that acts as a signal repeater. While you are asleep upstairs, your keys are likely sitting on a hallway table or in a bowl near the front door. The first thief stands near the house with the receiver, which picks up the faint whisper of your key's signal. It amplifies that signal and shoots it to the second thief standing next to the car. The car is tricked into believing the key is physically present in the driver's hand. The mirrors fold out, the lights flash, and the doors click open. No smashed glass, No hot wiring, no noise, 30 seconds is all it takes. By the time you roll over in bed, your vehicle is already miles away. Wahed was not doing this alone. He was the CEO of a complex logistics company. He had a dedicated staff. Mohammed Bukhari, 28, served as the transporter, moving stolen cars from the initial crime scenes to holding locations to cool off. Stanley Vanderberg, 25, handled deliveries, driving the stolen vehicles to the processing center. And that facility, that is where the dark magic happened. They operated out of an unassuming industrial unit in Braintree, Essex. From the outside, it looked completely normal, just another warehouse in a row of logistics firms. But inside, it was a high-speed disassembly line. The unit was equipped with professional car lifts, pneumatic tools, and heavy machinery. It had everything you needed to strip an 80,000 pounds Range Rover down to its bare metal skeleton in 4 hours, flat. Wahed had a team of skilled workers, David, George and others, who could dismantle complex machinery with their eyes closed. Engines were hoisted out, transmissions dropped, body panels unbolted, doors removed, and electronics unplugged. By sunrise, a luxury vehicle that had been someone's pride and joy was just a pile of assorted components, sorted and stacked for sale. The business model was bifurcated. Some parts stayed in the UK, sold for cash to dodgy mechanics who needed cheap replacements and did not ask questions. But the high-value organs, the engines, the complete front ends, the gearboxes, those went international. They packed these premium parts into shipping containers for export. There is a massive market for European luxury car parts, in places where import taxes on whole vehicles are astronomically high. If you buy the parts separately and reassemble them, you save a fortune. It worked flawlessly. Every week, more cars were stolen. Every week. £2.8 million worth of vehicles flowed through their hands over 6 months. That is, 70 plus cars, 70 families waking up to empty driveways. Wahed did not care about the victims. He thought he was untouchable, but he was wrong. May 2023 marks the moment the perfect crime began to unravel, triggered by a single technological oversight. A Land Rover was stolen from a driveway in Essex. The owner reported it immediately, and the police logged the theft, but the vehicle vanished into the ether. Usually, thieves hunt for trackers immediately, ripping out glove boxes and tearing up boot linings to find and disable the GPS units. For weeks, there was silence. No pings, no movement. The owner had likely resigned themselves to the loss, filing the insurance claim and assuming the car was already in pieces or halfway across the ocean. But then, the sleeper awoke. Suddenly, after weeks of dormancy, the Land Rover's backup tracker pinged. It was not moving on a highway. It was stationary, pulsing a steady signal from deep within an industrial estate in Braintree. When Essex Police triangulated the location, they found themselves staring at a nondescript warehouse. Now, put yourself in the shoes of the lead investigator. You have a confirmed location of a stolen vehicle. The standard playbook is simple: kick down the door, arrest whoever is inside, recover the car, and close the case. It is a quick win. But something made the police hesitate. The intelligence suggested this was not just a garage where one guy was stripping a single car. The signals coming from that unit suggested a hive. So, the police made a high-stakes decision. They chose not to raid. Instead, they deployed the eyes. Unmarked cars parked down the street, long lens cameras set up in concealed positions, and plainclothes officers rotating shifts. They began a pattern of life analysis. Over the next few weeks, what they witnessed confirmed their suspicions that they had stumbled upon a major organized crime hub. They watched a white van arriving like clockwork. They saw vehicles entering late at night and never coming out. They observed the heavy industrial shutters rolling up to swallow Range Rovers. All. This was not petty theft. This was a corporate entity operating in the shadows. The surveillance teams began to build a comprehensive cast list. They identified Wahed Ysef, who carried himself not like a mechanic, but like a boss directing traffic, checking phones, overseeing the financial flow. They clocked Mohammed Bukhari, the transporter, always moving, always driving. They spotted Stanley Vanderberg, bringing in fresh inventory from the streets. And inside, Through glimpses when the doors opened, they saw the workers David, George and others covered in grease, tearing cars apart with practiced speed. The police were building a network map, connecting the dots between the thief on the street, the transporter on the road, and the butcher in the shop. Then, the surveillance team saw the endgame. They watched as a massive shipping container was maneuvered into place outside the unit. Over several nights, under the cover of darkness, they observed the gang loading it. Engines wrapped in industrial plastic, transmissions strapped to pallets, body panels stacked like Tetris blocks. The police watched the container being sealed with a heavy-duty bolt and collected by a freight company. They tracked it all the way to a UK port where it was scheduled to be loaded onto a cargo ship bound for Dubai. The trap was set, but the police were about to do something unprecedented. Now the police faced a critical juncture at the port. They stood before a steel box containing hundreds of thousands of pounds in stolen evidence. Standard procedure dictates you seize the assets, log the win and arrest the exporters. They had enough right there to put Wahed and his lieutenants away for years. Inside that container were the gutted remains of Range Rovers, Land Rovers and BMWs engines, with serial numbers still etched into the blocks, transmissions that could be traced back to specific VINs, and body panels ripped from family cars. It was a prosecutor's dream. But Essex Police were not interested in a standard win. They wanted total devastation. They called the port authorities and issued a directive that sounds almost counterintuitive to police work. Open it, process it, but do not stop it. Under the harsh glare of industrial floodlights, officers cracked the seal. They photographed every jagged edge of metal, every dismantled dashboard, and every loose wire. They documented the forensic link between the stolen cars in Essex and this metal coffin destined for the Middle East. And then, they did something that defines the sheer psychological cruelty of this operation. They emptied it. Every single engine, every door, every wheel was removed. The container was scrubbed clean of its illicit cargo until it was nothing but a hollow steel shell, echoing and empty. Then, they sealed it back up. The official bolt was replaced, the paperwork was stamped, and the container was loaded onto the cargo ship as if nothing had happened. There is a terrifying risk in a maneuver like this. A container filled with car parts weighs tons. An empty one is light. If a crane operator noticed the weight difference, or if the shipping manifest did not match the load sensors, the game could be up, but the police had coordinated everything. The ghost container was cleared for departure. For the next 2 weeks, while that metal box bobbed across the ocean, sailing 4,000 miles toward the Arabian Peninsula, it carried nothing but air and the impending doom of the gang. Back in the UK, Wahed Ysef and his crew were operating in a state of blissful ignorance. This is the part of the story that is painful to watch in hindsight. Because they did not know the police had already won, they continued to dig their own graves. They kept stealing. Another Range Rover disappeared from a driveway in Hertfordshire, driven frantically to Braintree to be stripped. Wahed was likely checking shipping schedules, calculating his profit margins and dreaming of the payout when the container landed in Dubai. Mohammed was still coordinating pickups. Stanley was still scouting targets. They were working overtime to feed a pipeline that had already been severed. The police let them continue, not out of negligence but to solidify the case, and to ensure that when the trap snapped shut, everyone would be inside. Life for the gang was good. The operation was humming, the money was flowing, and the Dubai shipment was on schedule. They had no idea that their payday container was essentially a Trojan horse, not filled with soldiers, but filled with absolute nothingness. As the ship drew closer to the UAE, the confidence of the gang reached its peak, completely unaware that they were walking toward a cliff edge that the police had spent weeks constructing. June 2023. The climax of this operation plays out on 2 stages separated by 4,000 miles, yet synchronized to the second. In Dubai, it is 2:00 p.m. and the desert heat is a suffocating 42 degrees Celsius. 2 members of Wahed's organization, sweating in the humidity, stand before their container at the port. They have cleared customs and are expecting a payday. Meanwhile, in the UK, it is a cool, overcast morning. Police teams across Essex, Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire are in position. Dozens of officers in tactical gear are stacking up outside front doors in Ilford, Luton and Boreham Wood. The timing is critical. If one phone call gets out, the network goes dark. In Dubai, the heavy metal locking bar of the container is lifted. The sound of steel grinding against steel echoes across the dock. CT Adam. In the UK, the go order is whispered over encrypted radios. In Dubai, the doors swing open, flooding the dark interior with blinding sunlight. In the UK, battering rams hit the doors of Wahed Ysef and Mohammed Bukhari. The shock is simultaneous. In the UK, the shock is the concussive noise of a dawn raid police. Do not move. In Dubai, the shock is silence. The container is empty. Imagine standing there. You have flown across the world to meet your fortune, and you are staring into a void. They check the container number. It matches. The seal was intact. It is physically impossible, yet here it is. Panic sets in. They pull out their phones to call the boss. Marketkersfout, it goes to voicemail. They call the transporter. Marketkersfout ans voicemail. They call the facility. No answer. Lekker saatwerke balatark. Lekker saatwerke kersfout saatwerke kersake balata. Ui guy da answer. Lekker saatwerke kersamafark. Lekker saatwer answer. Lekker saatwer hans. In that moment, the heat of Dubai turns cold. They realize this is not a shipping error, it is a systematic dismantling. They are not just victims of a theft. They are the punchline of a police operation. Back in Britain, the empire has fallen. Wahed is in handcuffs in his own hallway, listening to his phone ring on the table, the caller ID flashing Dubai. Police let it ring. At the Braintree facility, the workers are zip-tied on the floor, surrounded by the undeniable evidence of engines and stripped chassis. The police seize everything. Computers, ledgers and parts from over 70 stolen vehicles. It is a clean sweep. The two men in Dubai, realizing the walls are closing in, book the first flight back to London, perhaps hoping it is all a misunderstanding. They land at Heathrow, only to find officers waiting at the gate to complete the set. Fast forward to June 2024, at Chelmsford Crown Court. The 8 defendants stand before a judge who has heard every detail of the £2.8 million theft ring. The sentences are handed down. Wahed Ysef, the mastermind, gets 6 years and 1 month. The others receive sentences ranging from 3 to 4 years, totaling over 36 years of prison time for the gang. The judge called the operation highly sophisticated, but the unspoken verdict was that it was humiliating. The police did not just catch them, they played with them. They let them ship an empty box of air halfway around the world just to crush their spirits before crushing their operation. This case is a stark warning. Car theft in the UK is an epidemic, with a vehicle stolen every 4 minutes. If you own a keyless car, buy a £10 signal blocking pouch today. It is the only thing stopping a relay attack. The police are adapting, becoming more psychological and strategic, but you must be your first line of defense. Wahed Ysef thought he was smarter than the system, and he ended up staring into an empty box in a desert. If this story of the perfect trap blew your mind, hit that like button, it helps the channel massively. Subscribe for more deep dives into UK crime. Next up, a Birmingham gang that tried to launder £3 million and failed in a way even more shocking than this. You do not want to miss it. Until then, protect your keys and stay safe.